And to some people maybe who want to feel like they're constantly oppressed, it's gotten into things like transgenderism, and then also now men are bad rather than we want women to be equal to men. It almost feels like now, no, we want women to be above men. It could get to be a very dark future, right?
What's going on in the world with people and relationships?
Men are more disillusioned than ever. But if I try and do this, she's gonna think it's some type of assault or something.
So what is a high value man?
The sooner you can get your money in order. Second, like physical fitness. Yeah, and then beyond that, I would think it's a lot of like the mental game.
Do you think Andrew Tate is a net positive benefit to humanity?
Yes, I do. The average guy who's leaving hate in the comments probably is a low value man. I would imagine he's motivated a lot more men to take positive action in their life.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is on hardcore steroids.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. He's gotten older and older, and he seems like he's gotten bigger and bigger. If you're natural, you can be big or you can be lean, but you can't be both at the same time. You kind of just look like a schmuck if you're clearly lying about it.
If you'd like me to have more conversations like this and go deep, make sure you support the channel. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn the notification bell on. David, is there a war on successful men right now? Like, does the world hate successful men?
It certainly seems that some people would like there to be less successful men.
Why?
Is it?
Like, is that not what the world needs? Is that not what gets us out of difficult times?
I would say so. I would say that it plays a big role. I would say that there's a lot of people who it seems they just want to destroy everything that was just because, right? It seems like a lot of people who anything that you would consider traditional or maybe what got us here is not the way forward. And I'm not sure if that's because, I don't know. I wish I could understand, right? If I understood that, maybe I could offer more light on it. I don't understand the need for that.
Do you think it's come from the feminist movement?
I think it has, and it's tough because I think you had like first wave feminism and second wave feminism, right? That were more about let's get the right to vote. Let's get the right to go to school and have an education, which I understand that, right? I think that's probably good. That's probably good for society to have more educated people. Everyone can have the right to vote. But it seems that there's some people who don't want it to end, right? And there's some people maybe who want to feel like they're constantly oppressed. And I don't know if that empowers them. But it's like, what's the next envelope that we can push? And I think it's gotten to a point where it's gotten into things like transgenderism, and then also now men are bad rather than we want women to be equal to men. It almost feels like now, no, we want women, maybe not everybody, right? But there's suddenly maybe a loud minority who want maybe women to be above men. That's how it would feel to me.
So I heard Pearl
Yes.
on a podcast saying that women shouldn't have the right to vote.
I heard that clip.
What do you think about that?
So her argument when she first said it was like, look, men have gone to war, men have fought for like the reality that we have now. But then that would make me question, okay, so the men that haven't gone to war, so the men who haven't gone to war not have the right to vote as well? Obviously you're not Pearl, so I can't really debate that with you, but that would be my question. She did frame it a different way and said, perhaps maybe it should be 1 vote per household, in the sense that like we shouldn't be maybe allowing like the man and the woman's vote separately, because perhaps maybe that could cause some inner tension or inner struggle that's not there. And maybe there's some logic there, but like on the first aspect of it of like, well, men went to war, so they should be able to vote. Not every dude went to, especially now, it's a very small minority of men going to war.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
What do I think? I mean, I think we should have an equitable society, but not an equal society, because we are not equal. Like, you don't give a 12-year-old the right to vote.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a household vote,
Yeah.
in which, you know, a man, a woman, and even the children consult and vote.
Well, I'd like that because it would support the nuclear family, which I still think is a good thing. A lot of people don't. I know you have a family.
Yeah.
I'm building a family. I still think it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's interesting. I've definitely seen a bit of a backlash. I mean, you know, if you think, it's easy for me to say I'm a man, not a woman. I am, you know, women have been very oppressed for a long time. And I can only imagine how that must feel, and to not have equal opportunity and to feel like a second-class citizen. What seems to happen is, you know, it's swung the other way, where instead of women trying to become equal, like you said, we're trying to suppress what makes a man because of what we've had to put up with over hundreds of years. But I'm not sure that's productive.
Yeah, I don't know why. Because a female by nature is feminine, a man by nature is masculine, and of course the same way that there's
Yeah, we're not equal. This is what I mean by equity.
Yes.
Over equality,
Yes.
fairness, but not equality. We are different.
No, we're very different from our biology, right?
Yeah.
And I think that, of course, there's always going to be some men who are more feminine, and that's okay. And there's going to be some women who are more masculine, right? And that's okay too, right? I think that there's always a spectrum for a certain individual, maybe to like the amount of masculine energy or tendencies they have to the feminine energies or tendency they have. But on average, men are going to be more masculine and women are going to be more feminine. And it seems like, and look, if something really naturally happened to, I don't know what it would be, I don't know, another comet hit Earth or something really bizarre happened, and that's somehow I don't know, I don't even know how it would happen, but started to change the fabric of society, that'd be one thing. But it feels like it's trying to be engineered by like a small group of people. It's trying to be like force-fed that this is what it should be. And that's what feels wrong about it, I think.
What's with all this alpha sigma male that's going around? I mean, now, anyone who calls themselves an alpha male surely is, by definition, a delta, a dick.
A delta.
It's like, what is that? Maybe a backlash. So the oppression that the feminists have felt, they backlash, they effeminate masculinity, and then the backlash reaction to that is, "F you, I'm even more of a man."
I think that's
I
part
am
of
an
it.
alpha male.
I think that's part of it. Because I think the more recent, I don't know what you call it, manosphere, red pill, a lot of people...
What's manosphere? Never heard that phrase.
The same thing as red pill. Like the manosphere, well, I don't know, maybe people don't talk about it as much anymore, but it would be like the men who are propagating the red pill message, which maybe now has changed from... When I was younger, the message was more just be more confident, increase your money, build up your body. But now it seems like it's become more reactive to let's fight against the extreme feminism, and maybe that's what's needed. I don't know. Maybe there's some balance that's trying to be restored there, and that's okay. In terms of the sigma alpha male thing, yeah, I think that people say alpha male, high value man, top 1% man. I don't know. Maybe there's
Top 1%.
there's maybe some value to a word like alpha male or high value man in the sense that it could portray several different points of data in one word, but obviously it's become kind of like a bit cheesy, right?
Yeah. Where do you think society's at right now? I mean, like I'm 44 and I've never seen the world like this. Like this is unprecedented times where I feel like we're on the precipice of a revolution. And revolutions, if you look back through history, they're common. They happen. Mm-hmm. You go through these cycles, empires last 100 years max, there's a revolution, there's an overthrow, and then bang, there's another empire. Where do you see we're at in society right now? I mean, you've moved out to Marbella.
Yep.
You've moved away from America. There
Yes.
must be reasons for that. Yeah.
Part of it's this. I mean, part of it's the culture and the climate. Yeah. Part of it's the quality of life here. There's a lot of reasons. But yeah, I do think in America, I know it seems the UK is a similar type of culture war going on now, right? Where
crazy taxes.
Yeah, the taxes are high. The government's trying to get away with more than it's ever tried to get away with before, it seems like, through things we saw with lockdown, yes, with taxes. I don't know, obviously, it seems like maybe around 2016 when Trump got elected that it brought a lot of these like issues to like the surface, and that's kind of what was one of the more catalysts for the culture war. And I'm not blaming it on Trump. I just think that he gave a voice to maybe some people who feel like they didn't have a voice, and then a lot of people didn't like that. I think the mainstream media. Have you ever seen them attack someone as much as they attacked Donald Trump? They're still doing it. What, 8 years later, 9 years later? No, 7 years later.
Yeah. People like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson. Who do you prefer out of those two, and why?
I probably prefer Jordan Peterson. There's a lot of times Jordan Peterson's talk about shit that I never even heard of before, man. And I feel like I really learned a lot more listening to Peterson.
As a content creator yourself, do you think that mainstream media is dying?
I hope it's dying.
I mean, it's acting like it's dying, isn't it? It's like the clickbait and the desperation that you sense. Like, I don't know if you know much in the UK about what happened with Philip Schofield.
Not too familiar.
No, but basically, you know, the media just went for him. He didn't do anything illegal, maybe slightly immoral, maybe broke an employment contract, but basically had an affair with a much younger man, legal age.
Yes.
And they just absolutely went for him. And I'm like, this is just stinks of desperation. The BBC with Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
You know, and just like feeding nonsense. It just stinks of desperation.
They've lost my trust, right? Because the problem is they never take accountability either, right? It seems like they have the narrative they push. There's a bit of awakening amongst.
Yeah.
I know in the older, they call it like the boomer generation, I guess, that perhaps they may be beyond saving. I think that was their childhood. What the television says is right, and maybe they're not able to objectively like perceive some of these things. But I would hope that your age, my age, and younger, that's the positive impact. Is that I think more and more people have a distrust for like the mainstream media and are looking for more independent sources. You know, there's a lot of good YouTube channels that cover things like politics and news from a less biased angle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, BBC in the UK is supposed to be an independent, non-biased, factual media outlet. It absolutely has been proven it is not. It is a propaganda machine.
Well, in the U.S. even, forever you were here. Okay, CNN's going to tell you what the liberal Democratic Party thinks. Fox is going to tell you what the Republican conservative people think. And then even when I was growing up, but then you would think, but if I see a report from the BBC, even as an American, that's going to be a lot more unbiased.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. Not anymore.
Maybe it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, maybe it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, as an independent content creator, yourself as well, I always think competition is a great thing.
Yeah.
You know, if you have competition in fitness, you get stronger.
Yep.
If you have competition in business, you know, you
products,
get better.
Better marketing.
Yeah, you build better things. You have better products and services. And I'm enjoying seeing, you know, the decentralisation of media now, where there's more competition for content, and therefore more people have a voice. There's more decentralisation. You think that's a good thing?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the more centralized things are, and this is my worry with things like AI or the governments wanting to release their own form of like cryptocurrency.
Oh, you mean a central digital currency? Don't get me started on this.
Well, the more and more centralized you get things, the less and less freedom that we have.
Yeah.
Right? It's going to get to a point where it could get to be a very dark future, right? Where if the government has control over all the information, all the flow of money, well, we just have to accept whatever we're told. We maybe, with AI replaces all our jobs, the government has control over everything because they control the top tier technology of the time. Where are we left, right?
Yeah.
Just getting our hand out for the month and living in the block 342B or whatever.
Yeah. I remember someone said to me 20 years ago, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. You know, if we just comply and we just do what we're told, we're going to be in this dystopian
1984.
Yeah, globalized future where 12 powerful people sit around a table and own the world. And like that can't happen. Like you, that.
Well, I would have, for most of my life, I trusted that the government as a whole was at least, I'm sure there's corruption, but was at least trying to manipulate or control things to a positive way. But the last 4 years, I don't think so, man.
No.
I don't think so.
No, this central, you know, look, I'm a balanced human. You know, there's a lot to be excited about in the world.
Yeah.
You know, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
Anyone can start a business. You can be a content creator. You know, you can live a mobile life. There's a lot to be excited about.
Yeah.
But this idea of a central digital currency, where essentially I can access your bank account when I want.
Mm-hmm. Every transaction I've ever
made.
I
can bang inflation to 50% if I want and halve the value of your money. I can tell you you've got to spend $3,000 out of your bank account to kickstart the economy in the next 30 days or I'm taking it off you. I can track every single transaction
ever
that you are involved in.
Private, public.
I mean, what's the good in that?
Not for us. Nothing good for us. And they maybe can sell some benefits that it's simpler. You don't have to worry as much about your different credit cards or different things. Right? There could be some, they could sell it to you that maybe it's simpler, but the
I
end
mean,
of the day,
a lot of people don't have a bank account. A lot of people don't have the internet, like logistically.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Outside of the first world, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Fucking hell.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot of people out there who are like 19. I get emails all the time. Rob, I want to come on your show. I'm 19 and I'm a dating coach. When I was 19, I didn't know about everything. So, you know, your content on sort of relationship advice seems to go really viral. So, what's going on in the world with people and relationships?
Well, I think men are more disillusioned than ever. And I understand it. I felt my past was feeling kind of like invisible to women and I got into college, you know, I had the one or two friends who were always getting laid. I always had a different girl, and I felt like, bro, this is what are they doing? Is this some like magic sauce?
What do they know that I don't?
Yeah, so I understand feeling really powerless and invisible, and I went through that transformation of putting in work, trying to understand women, trying to put myself out there more, getting comfortable with rejection, working on, I guess, leveling myself up to get access to a higher tier of women, or to get access to any women at first. But that was before this kind of feminist woke culture that we have now. And now I see a lot of comments, you know, but if I try and do this, she's gonna think it's some type of assault or something. Or I'm afraid that charges could be filed against me. I don't think there's any legitimate fear there. But those thoughts never even entered my head 10 years ago. So I think that even though those aren't legitimate, and it's just another excuse, right, to like, is why you're not going to like try and ask that girl out, I do understand that. I think for guys right now, it seems very bleak for a lot of men. And then the other problem, I think, is that you have a lot of people more in the red pill space, or like an Andrew Tate, who top 1% men, right? And there's a reality that you can see through them that, look, if you're a top 1% man, you have access to any girl, right? And then that's when you have to set these hard boundaries with women, that this is okay, this is not okay. And I think there's advice like this is good, right? Because maybe it motivates the guys to get their finances in order, to get their body in order, to get to that point. But there's a lot of average men, because I mean, the world has to follow like the law of averages, right? There's gonna be like 80% of men, maybe let's say 10% are notably below average, 10% are notably above average, 80%, like that's the bell curve, right? Are similarly average. And that's the tough reality right now with things like Instagram, with dating apps that have kind of made it, if there's an attractive woman now, she can easily meet as many guys as she wants. It doesn't have to just be the guy who approached her at the gym. It's like I could be the guy who approached her at the gym, and 10 years ago, maybe I stood out enough for my confidence and my looks. But now maybe she has a guy with 400,000 followers in her DMs, and so I don't mean anything to her, right? So I think that it's become, on one hand, harder and harder for average men, and on the other hand, easier and easier if you can kind of make yourself seem, whether it's through your money, through your appearance, through your social media, you can make yourself seem above average and have like the status that women would want. It's going to be easier for you than ever. So I think it's kind of, it's another one of these changes we're talking about over the last, 4 to 8 to 10 years, that I think the dating market has completely changed.
Who should pay for the first date?
100% a man.
What is going on?
Because the man is the person that's setting up the date. He's leading the interaction forward.
Well, not necessarily. A woman might ask a man out.
Not in today's day and age. He should be obligated to pay.
We are in disruptive financial times. Interest rates going up, the banking system, the government, taxation. So I've created my digital financial freedom toolkit, a toolkit to help you save money in the right areas and scale and make money in the right areas. In the description and the comments below, you can find a link. Go get it for free. So what the is a high value man? I mean, that term makes me cringe. Yeah. And my wife is always like, that ain't no high value man. That's no high value man. I'm like, so what is a high value man?
Okay, I agree. I can agree it's a cringy term to start.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it can be helpful as a quick definition.
Yeah.
So I think if, as a man, there's a few like simple things that you need to have in order in your life to just have more freedom to do the things you want. So like the sooner you can get your money in order, whether that's through improving in your career, starting your own business, investing, also that's very attractive to women, right? Because women are naturally
Security.
Yeah, security.
Yeah.
They want a provider. They want someone they feel comfortable
Yeah.
and safe with, who can take care of things. If they have kids, that it's not going to be a financial strain. So I
Yeah.
don't think that it's all gold diggers. I think there's very real evolutionary things that make money attractive to women.
Yeah.
Second, like physical fitness, and this could even go back to the same thing. A physically fit man, yeah, he looks good, he's sexy, but at the same time, I mean, you just had a fight a couple weeks ago, right? I think a woman also wants to feel like she's with a guy that if the shit hit the fan,
can
he'd
protect
be able
them.
to protect her, right?
Yeah.
So you have finances,
Show
you have
discipline,
physical fitness,
ambition.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
beyond that, I would think it's a lot of like the mental game, which would be things like determination, discipline, consistency, confidence, just developing yourself in a sense that you're able to take risks in your life. If things go wrong, you're not shattered. You're able to kind of like regroup. Whether that's approaching a girl and getting rejected, whether that's trying to launch a business that fails, just having that aspect of mental toughness that you kind of believe in yourself. So I would say, if I'm trying to give the simplest definition for a high value man, having like, if you have these three things in order, that kind of makes you what you could consider like a top 1% man, in the sense that, look, there's some guys you're gonna go to the gym, they're ripped, they're jacked, but they're completely broke, or they're struggling to hold eye contact with you, or there's someone who has a lot of money, but they're completely out of shape, right? So I think when you combine those three things, especially on the dating market, there's not too many guys who can really compete, right? And that's gonna immediately make your dating life a lot easier, because it's like a trifecta of, okay, well, you actually approached the girl and asked her out and knew how to lead the relationship forward. That's the mental aspect. And then she was attracted to the money and the physical fitness as well.
Yeah. I saw something recently which I found really interesting. And I really liked it. It was from Justin Waller.
Yep.
And he said, instead of focusing on chasing girls and learning all these gimmicks and tricks, just focus on excellence. Focus on getting your money in order. Focus on getting in good shape and being a useful human, and you'll attract the right people to you. What do you think about that?
I think that's true. I think it's true. I think if you're, the only like caveat would be, if we're talking dating specifically, is if you're someone like me who had like this deep ingrained fear of maybe feeling inadequate, or like I'm just afraid, like getting rejected seems like the worst thing in the world. If I'd completely ignored that part of my life and only focused on money and fitness, I would have built some confidence through that, but I still may have my pants trying to talk to a girl because I hadn't like given myself any experience there. So I think it's still important to be able to like to get comfortable putting yourself out there,
Yeah.
But I do agree with it. I think that those should be the priority.
Yeah.
Because that's going to make that's like the key that will make everything else fall into place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a bit of an old bastard. I'm 44.
Yeah.
So how I met my wife was I went straight up to her in a bar and started talking to her.
Yeah.
Absolutely, as to use your phrase, my pants. But at least I knew what she looked like and I knew what I was getting into. And now, like, everyone I meet on Instagram does not look like their f***ing photographs.
Yeah. That's another problem.
It's like dating to me at the moment.
Are you talking about men or women or both?
Both.
Okay.
You meet people and you're a lot shorter, you're a lot fatter. Oh, clearly the lighting was good. I thought you were an 8, you're actually a 6.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of mis-selling going on online dating. What do you think about that?
I think on average, women like taking photos more. It's something they do with their friends more. So women on average are going to have photos that portray them as attractive as they are or more attractive. Yeah, the high angle, right?
Yeah. Now,
The body's twisted, like I don't even know. But they're good at it, right?
Yeah.
If you see girls take photos, they take 100 photos, and each time the friend's telling her, hey, no, actually look this way, actually twist your body this way.
But do you not think this is with people's self-worth?
No, I do.
Yeah.
But I think that men, on the other hand, on average, on social media you can see a lot of guys who take a lot of photos, but on average, I don't think guys give a shit about taking photos. So I think on average, a problem I see with a lot of guys, they get on dating apps, and maybe they're not a half bad looking guy, but their photos are them 7 years ago with their buddies.
So men are underselling themselves and women are overselling themselves.
On average. And I think that's but I think that's a more feminine thing, is to care a little bit more about the appearance and having the photos, and more masculine things like, I don't really give about that. I'm not going to put the time into that. So I think that also leads to when the dating market now is digitalized through social media, through dating apps, I think that also tilts things a bit out of balance. But again, that's why if I'm working with a guy to help him with his dating life, like a priority one, it's stupid. I wish it wasn't the reality, but it has to be, okay, we need to get you set up with like a local photographer just to like, so you can at least portray yourself as you are instead of these like grainy old, photos from a basement of a party 6 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, interesting. Something happened in France recently, which I actually was for. I'd love your thoughts on it. But they made filters illegal on social media.
In all of France.
Yeah, France.
So
there was a push for, all these filters you get on social
So if
media
I go
that makes you look skinnier and makes your face look like a triangle and and all that. Because the purpose of regulation is to avoid monopolies and create a safe market environment. And in the world of social media, where we're comparing ourselves to everyone all the time, I think extreme filters, where you're misselling yourself, I think they're really dangerous, for your mental health and your self-worth. I was really pro that. I was pro not being allowed to have these crazy filters that make you look really different. What do you think about that?
Look, if I could snap my fingers and remove all filters, I'd do it.
Yeah.
Right now, let's do it. Let's get rid of them.
Surely that's perpetuating vanity and low self-worth, isn't it?
No, 100%. I would agree. If I could snap my fingers and do it, I would do it. But then people would still get on Photoshop and do something. Like we're talking about, the world's a competitive place, and this is another form of competition. It's not a good one, and I think the danger is not necessarily to the dating market. There is a danger there, but at the end of the day, I'm going to show up and meet you at the bar, and if you're a 4 instead of 8, I mean, I might be polite and get one drink with you, but it's not going to lead anywhere.
Laters.
Exactly. I think the bigger danger is what you're saying is more the
mental health,
the
self-worth.
mental health for people who are comparing themselves to other people, seeing these filters, or just that the filters are enabling people to maybe think that I look like this, but then when you look in the mirror, what do you think? I see this a lot with body dysmorphia, with people trying to work on their bodies, or I went through it where you're at the gym, they got the lights coming right down on you like this, you take your shirt off, you can see every cut in your body, maybe the mirrors are even like concave or something, they make it a little bit wider, and then you come home, you get out of the shower, there's no crazy lighting on you, and that was when I was in the beginning of my gym journey. I'd be like, fuck man, I look like and this is like that evolved to the nth degree. So I don't think it's going to change. I'm surprised I didn't know this about France. I feel like this isn't going to change because that's what people want, and the market wants to give people what they want. Like Instagram, if they remove the filters, maybe less people use Instagram.
Yeah, maybe.
But I agree with you. It's probably bad for mental health. I mean, not probably, it is.
Yeah. So something I really believe, I'd love your thoughts on this, is pretty much everyone, it seems, universally, there's some universal truths about life, I think, and one of them seems to be that we want to be loved for who we are.
Yes.
Like no one wants to be disowned and ridiculed and rejected and ostracized, and everyone wants to be loved for who they are. Yeah. So why are so many people out there in this state of mind where they're projecting a false image of themselves? How can you expect someone to love you for who you are when you're portraying a false and inauthentic image of who you are?
Well, I think this ties in with the filters, right? I think there's a pressure. There's this sense of competition online that you have to keep up. But I wish people could funnel that productively, right? Because if I feel like I'm not going to be loved who I am because I'm out of shape, I don't have any money, and then that motivates me now to start putting in work in different areas of my life. Well, that was actually like maybe a good impulse, even though it was a negative self-thought. Yeah. It was used productively, right?
So leveraging the pain.
Leveraging the pain to change, to use it as kind of like, you know what, this is who I am now, but I'm going to make a comeback. It's going to be like my hero story, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to build myself up. That's good. The bad side is I don't think that's what most people do. I think most people probably resort to the filters or trying to tell a tall tale.
The shortcuts.
Yeah, exactly.
Tummy tucks, fat burner pills, steroids, which we'll talk about in a minute, all of that. I feel like the world of social media is so false, so fickle, so inauthentic. Maybe I'm sounding like an old because I imagine, a 20-year-old might think different.
Well, I mean, it's become a marketplace to show how cool you are, right? And that's not a positive thing, I don't think. I mean,
Like, who gives a what anyone thinks? Surely it's better to live a great life than pretend to live a great life, isn't it?
I would say so. One of them is going to lead to fulfillment and happiness.
Yeah, I mean, if
and
you're
cool interactions like this, and
yeah,
well, the other one's what you just.
If you live your life taking photos for Instagram, do you not just miss life?
Well, that's something I've struggled with a lot because as my YouTube channel started to grow, I felt like I couldn't waste opportunities because it could be good content.
Yeah, but you've merged there your life with your work. You could argue you've got some balance. You love what you do what you love. Surely that is a great way to live life, isn't it?
Yes, I would agree. But I felt like sometimes I couldn't enjoy a moment fully because I had to
Yeah.
We got to put the drone up right now. We got to get a drone
Yeah,
shot of
yeah,
this or
yeah.
something. And like you say, maybe it's not a bad thing, because I think it also maybe pushed me to do some cooler things, because like, well, I could use this for content if we go do this today. But I have made effort over the past few years to like have days to not care about having to share everything out on
Turn the
social
phone
media.
off.
Yeah, and you start
Yeah.
to realize also, like, based on the amount of content I'm going to produce, I don't necessarily need this. This would be something extra that's not really needed anyway. So this can be for us, for me and my wife. You know, this could just be for us, or for me and my friends. Yeah, yeah.
On that note, let's talk about content then, because we were talking before the cameras went off.
Yeah.
We were moaning about the algorithms and the fickle nature.
Yeah.
Would you rather have 10 million followers selling yourself out, jumping on every trend, or have 12 followers, but you really love the art that you create? Are you an artist or a whore? Which one would you rather? Are you a...
Well, that's an extreme example.
Yeah, of course it is, but you got to pick one first.
Well, with 12 followers, there's no potential for monetization, but maybe it can be built upon from there. So maybe there's a future. So if I and I've done this, I guess, right? And so have you. We have built an audience. So knowing what I know now, I still might take the 12, knowing that I could build it to something from there. If you told me, hey, it's a cap, it's 12, like no one else is gonna follow you.
Yeah.
Well, that almost seems a little pointless, because if I have 12 followers, and maybe what's one guy watching each video? But
Exactly.
not every follower is watching each video.
How is what you do useful if no one can see it?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it feels like I'm just jerking off then if I'm just making videos that no one's watching.
For yourself.
yeah.
Yeah, because you know, you see a lot of people jumping on trends, and you see them flash in the moment, you know, go really big and viral, and they're here and they're gone, and they're here and they're gone, and you see social media algorithms change.
Yeah.
You know, you and I built up a decent following, and it's almost like now you're almost punished for having a good following, because you've put all this time into these channels, and they're like, subscribers don't matter, what trends matters.
So it's tough, because I can see why it became what it became. Because now, okay, so we used to have at least with YouTube, we used to have a more follower-centric model, or subscriber-centric model. If I subscribe to you, YouTube's always going to give me your videos, and I can follow you like I follow a Netflix show, right? And people were bought into the journey of the content creator, right? And maybe there was a little bit more intimate. People built a little bit more relationship with you. They trusted you. They didn't care you have to make this video. It seemed people, the viewing habits were more, I enjoy this guy's creativity or his production, so I'm gonna ride with him. Now, and again, it feels like it's been manipulated a bit. I don't know, it's the viewer's choice, but I think that the social media companies learned, especially with short form content, where if I open it up, I just scroll to the next one. And the way that they choose which ones you see are the ones that have the highest retention, right? So they know how to play on our attention span. So now it's turned into more
what they want you to see.
Well, they want to keep you
on.
You
choose to see.
Well, they want to maximize your time on the app at all costs, right? And it's like, I think they've prioritized that above everything else. So now, rather than maybe it being a good place to learn or to find knowledge or to enjoy a cinematic piece of content, it's more just how the fuck do we keep this guy, just keep his brain plugged into YouTube or Instagram. I think that's negative for me, partly because like both of us, we put a lot of investment building up these audiences, and it feels like now
time and money and energy and
love and dedication, sweat and tears and blood, and now it's good for newer creators, because now the competition is just the specific piece of content based on the viewing metrics of that content. It can get pushed for everyone to see, and you could make an argument that, okay, well, maybe that gives more merit to the content versus someone who's like a lazy content creator and their content went off the deep end, so now we're not going to show that anymore. So I mean, like anything, I think there's different angles to consider. But I personally, from my perspective, wish it was how it was.
Yeah.
Because now, like you said, we can't just. In the past, I could publish a video that says like, "This is stupid," right? And maybe it's my take on something happening in culture that's stupid, but people would still watch because they'd be curious. Now it's got to be, I don't know, three ways to put a woman in her place, or something that's on trend that people want to see. And luckily we can still craft the actual content to be true to ourselves and to our experiences, but it does feel like there's a bit of a pressure with the titles and thumbnails, at least, to like have to appease the algorithm or appease like the current viewer trends of what they think they want to see.
So like I've interviewed a lot of very successful people and a lot of very creative people, and I love to have this discussion, this whole, you know, art versus trend jacker, if you like.
Yes.
You know, because you can go insane really quick saying, hey, this is my art, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Sitting on your own in your pants, no one recognizing you. No one recognizing you for the skills that you've got.
Yeah.
Or you can be like, I don't know how everyone else feels, but I feel empty and dirty if I create content that feels inauthentic to who I am.
Yeah.
You know, if I interview the wrong kind of person, or I'm just doing something to jump on a trend rather than actually having knowledge and experience, it makes me feel dirty.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm always trying to find the right balance between having something meaningful and useful in my lane that I know about versus making sure that I'm seen. Do you have a formula, or do you have the balance?
I mean, no, I don't have the answer. I think we're all content creators. That's the struggle, is like keeping up with the trends while also staying real to yourself. But what I try and do is I'll spend a lot of my time scrolling through similar type of content that I make to see what's trending in my space. But it's not gonna make sense for me to fill my apartment with 1,000 balloons just because that video, you know what I mean? People do crazy things that are like, that would mean nothing to me. It would seem just like a nuisance.
Yeah.
But if there's in the male self-improvement space, this is a concept that's trending, well, I can identify, okay, that video performed really well for creator X, Y, and Z. I'm not going to watch those because inevitably it's going to poison my thought process.
Or you'll end up copying it
without even trying to.
Yeah.
You can't help it at that point, right? You can try to not, and it's still going to happen. But I'll do that, and then I'll sit there, maybe contemplate the idea and say, well, what could I add to this conversation? Or maybe this is just like the launching point because this is what's on trend, and it allows me to launch into something that's more meaningful to me, like later in the video,
Yeah.
So that's one of my, because every week I'll have 2 videos. The first one's kind of sitting down, more focused advice, and that's where I'll do this. The second one is kind of like a day in the life vlog. So Monday will be like the studio video, Thursday will be the day in the life vlog, and with those, I've kind of detached myself from the views, which is hard after years of seeing views go up.
Yeah.
With those, that's more like, look, if you're a dedicated follower, you kind of want to see what's going on behind the scenes, then tune in on Thursday. If not everyone wants to see it, whatever.
Yeah, maybe, because I was speaking to Rich Cooper, who's got Entrepreneurs in Cars, and he said the same thing. I was having the discussion with him, and he's like, what I do is I create a piece of content that I'm proud of.
Yeah.
You like it, great. Yeah. You don't, whatever. Yeah. And then I produce a piece of content that I know everyone wants.
That's the game. It's like I look at it as different buckets. One bucket's like, this is going to be to expand the audience and get new people in the door. That's the second one Rich Cooper's talking about. Yeah. I know people want this. This is a pretty safe bet. I see this concept perform well in 7 other channels. Yeah. Or maybe just one other channel, but it's a similar channel. And then the other videos, this is what I want to do. Yeah. And I think it's going to be way cooler than the other one, but you choose.
Is it not frustrating though? When you, like, Harry and I talk about this a lot. Harry's the producer. And, we can sit there and think, hell, that was great content. And just no one gets it, and it just gets nothing. And then you can sit here thinking, oh, that was just gimmicky and naff.
And then that's the one that gets the views.
Bang, like we've got a video, nearly 5 million views, basically on the most nickable car. Yeah. And it's like in the UK, everyone nicks a Range Rover. Yeah. And like everyone's lapping it up. It's this piece of content
like, this isn't going to help anybody.
No, exactly. What, don't buy a Range Rover? Oh, thanks. And then this deep, long form, meaningful content. It's just sitting there, with 6,000 views. It's so frustrating.
I don't know how this happens, but I've found that if I watch a video before upload and I say, that was a good fucking video. That was
probably going to do shit.
Yeah, and I almost don't want to think that because I'm like, that was a good one. I really hope everyone watches that. I know immediately that one's gonna, like a 10 out of 10. You get the YouTube rankings. That one's gonna underperform. Yeah. And then a lot of times what you're saying happens too, where I watch it back and I'm like, I feel like I didn't really say anything in this video. Like maybe it was like a couple of good moments here and there, but like maybe I lost the plot a little bit. I don't know. And that's the one that has 1 million views.
Yeah.
Like, man.
I know. Okay, I know. So your channel's called
How to Beast,
and you've got 1.4 million, is it?
Yep.
Yeah. And so how long you been running that channel?
Well, I had the channel before, but January 2017, I made the commitment.
So you're literally a granddad of YouTube.
Yeah, 2017.
Yeah. I mean, that's a long time in the content world, isn't it?
I think I first uploaded videos 2014 maybe, but it was like, I had a blog at the time, because that was before like the YouTube days. That's when people wrote blogs. Yeah. And once or twice, I might have had maybe 10 videos total before that where I just like basically dictated a blog post to the camera, really shitty, no editing, I'm breathing, looking off camera and things in between. But then 2017, I made the investment, or made the commitment. I'm going to upload 2 videos every single week, Monday and Thursday, no matter what. And since January 2017, have not missed a single video. And it was about maybe 8 months into that year that like the channel started getting some traction.
So Ed Sheeran, he said, like obviously he's a mega famous artist, he said, if you want to be a good songwriter, you've got to write a lot of songs.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
100%.
Yeah.
Because people always ask me YouTube advice. I say, make
some content.
No, make a posting schedule.
Yeah.
Stick to it and realize that if every piece of content's a little bit better than the last one in some way, maybe you speak a little bit more confidently. The background music's edited a little bit cleaner. The flow of the video flows a little better. You just adjust the lighting on the camera a little bit better. If every piece just gets a little bit better in one way, in a year or 2 years, it's gonna be unrecognizable. But yeah, I think at first you gotta be used, especially with content. You're gonna be. If you look at my earlier videos, I was awkward. I was maybe trying to be the alpha male. Hey, welcome to the video. You know, like I was trying. I was trying to be this person.
Stop jerking off.
No, exactly. That's basically what my early videos were. But you got to start somewhere, and you got to find. I think a lot of people, you have to find your voice. If you're not used to doing this type of talking,
it takes a long time to find your voice.
And I went from being too quiet to yelling to overcompensating, and then you finally kind of. But it's first, and maybe some people not, but mine was at first.
Yeah. What do you think stops people from starting? You know, a lot of people say, oh, you know, the podcast space, the YouTube space, everyone's doing it. It's too much competition. What would you say to that?
It's a lot of competition, but anything in life.
Is there not room at the, you know, in the milk bottle, the cream rises to the top. Is there not always room for the best?
There's always room. It's not a zero-sum game. It's not a NBA team. There's 5 starters on the court. No. And also people come in and go. A lot of people at the top now, it's rare to see someone who exists in the content game and stays at the top for more than, I don't know, maybe 6 months, a year, 2 years. That's kind of also how content works. It's a bit of like
or they move into another space. Look at the Paul brothers, you know, how they've evolved.
Yes, or a lot of people I think maybe a lot of people move into more business content. They don't need as many views. They're selling a mentorship course or something, right? There's a lot of things that can happen. But I think the biggest problem is you make your first few pieces of content and it's hard to make them because you don't have a flow, you don't have a system for doing it yet. So you put in all this time.
Costs money to start.
Yeah, you spend time,
buy
you
all the
spend
equipment.
money. You have this motivation, you're excited, and then you post 2 videos that look like shit. You look awkward on camera. They get 12 views each, 0 comments, and you gotta be ready. That's gonna happen for the first year, though. I think that's probably the biggest thing is to like have the expectation that like. And I also think when I started, it wasn't before it was this glorious thing. When did you start?
Podcast 2016.
2016.
YouTube a bit later.
Still the same.
3 years YouTube. Yeah, something like that. But I mean, I've been content on social media since early Facebook days.
Yeah, so at that point, there wasn't like a glamorous expectation of wealth like there is now. I think that's another problem. When I started, I didn't know I was gonna make any money. I had a full-time job as a software engineer, and I was like, I just want to like, I'm trying to improve myself. I think it's cool to maybe try to share some of my failures, my experiences, what works for me. I didn't think it was going to build itself into a successful channel, let alone businesses like that off of that channel. So I think that's another problem is that because it's become so glorified and such like almost like celebrities, right, on social media, that it's a combination of the content being shit at first and people not having the expectation that this is going to take some time. And even it might take some time and you might just get a small following, right?
Yeah.
But then also I think a lot of people get in it for the wrong reasons now versus when we started. I don't think too many people were getting in it trying to like get rich.
No.
I think it was more about the content or giving back or just creating.
Yeah. Is there like a secret or a few tips you could give us on going viral?
I think for me, because the videos that built my channel up first were me approaching girls on the street. This was back in Boston.
Yeah, so the Vox Pop stuff. That works really well right now, people approaching people and asking them questions.
Well, no, mine was like hidden camera, approach the girl trying to pick her up and get her phone number.
Like hidden camera?
Well, it's like,
you get arrested for that now.
no, this is 2016, 2017. It was a different world, so maybe it might even be safe to do now. I don't know. I think you could, if you do it, you could probably still do it.
Yeah.
But, because we even did one maybe a year ago, similar.
Yeah.
But first of all, they were very awkward approaches, partly because that's who I was at the time, and I was just trying to be honest and authentic. I wasn't trying to show like a highlight reel. So you see some really awkward, but if you look at the top view video of my channel, I think it's 6 million views. It's like the easy way to approach a girl, works every time. And man, these are about 3 of the most awkward conversations you'll see. But also, I had either Julia, my wife, who was just become my girlfriend at the time, she was filming them, or my friend Dave was filming them.
Your girlfriend was filming you approaching women.
People are always she's supported the mission since
that's
since
what
day
you
one.
call it, supporting the mission.
Well, it was using it as an example, right? But supporting the mission.
I love it. A bit of spin there,
Yeah.
My wife's just supporting the mission. Let me whoever I want.
Well, I wasn't. Hey, I'm
just playing.
Yeah,
playing.
But I get it. Yeah. It was just getting the phone number.
Yeah.
But those videos did very well. The other thing I was gonna say is they're awkward to film because like I'd basically have to be like standing and like maybe I'd have from like here to there stretch a sidewalk because I knew that she was over where Harry is with the camera.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a camera with like a big zoom or anything.
No.
She's kind of like awkwardly leaning on the pole or something. So you have to really like manufacture these conversations. I gotta wait till an attractive girl walks by herself right here. I gotta stop her right here. We can't walk anywhere. So it was also a bit of like an awkward setup that we had. It wasn't very natural. But the point being, how do you make viral content? I was experimenting with different types of content. The reason I made a lot of those videos is because I noticed after I'd done 1 or 2 that a couple months later, oh shoot, this is 200,000 views on it. This is 300,000 views on it. So I think it helps to experiment making different types of content that you want to actually make, that you find exciting.
Yeah.
Yes, look for inspiration for what's trending from like similar creators and maybe try those. But when you find what works for you, double down on that, especially in the early stages when you're building the audience. I think you need to say, maybe it's not my favorite video to go out and approach these girls. It's a pain in the ass. I didn't love doing it, but like, this is getting people in the door right now. So maybe I do, instead of doing this 10% of the videos, I do this 33% of the videos.
So basically, a lot of testing,
Yep.
looking at the analytics, the retention, the views, and then once you see some kind of trend in your content that does well, you double down on that, and you just keep that evolution moving forward.
Yeah, and that's eventually going to die off because trends
course,
change and the algorithms change, and at some point, no one's going to. This bug is attacking you now.
Where have you brought me? What are these flies?
he was on my shoulder a minute ago. But yeah, you have to experiment. You can't just make the one type of video that you want to make.
Yeah.
Experiment. Look at different types of videos that you like to watch, and maybe one of them is like tangentially related to the type of content you want to make.
Yeah.
And then maybe that's the one. Maybe it clicks with your personality, your personal experience, your style of filming the videos, and you didn't expect it to be, but that's the type of content people want to see from you. And maybe it doesn't mean you have to get married to that and do it for the next 10 years, but maybe the next 6 months you ride that wave a little bit because there's a lot of waves in the social media world.
Do you think Andrew Tate is a net positive benefit to humanity?
Yes, I do. I think that, because I've had this conversation with a lot of people, right? And I always say, look, the negative is that I think there's some men who use his message as an excuse just to be really negative towards women and to feel really entitled when maybe they haven't earned that, right? They haven't become that high value man who maybe deserves the types of, because that's the one thing, right? He talks from his experience and his position in life where he's built himself up to being this type of high value man. And I'm trying to stop saying that. Your face is like slightly contorts each time I say
high value, top dog.
Yeah, but that's what I see as like the negative consequence would be like, because if you're not at that station in life,
the bravado, the arrogance.
Yeah, you don't deserve that type of respect from people, men or women. And I think that I see it in the comments. You see people who are really just being negatively hating on women, and it's like, well, the average guy who's leaving hate in the comments probably is a low value man, let's say, right? He's probably not at a great point in his life. So I think that's the negative thing. Now the argument against that is these guys might be hopeless either way, and if they're just leaving like negative comments or they have bad beliefs, maybe that doesn't matter that much, right? And I think that why I'd say he's a net positive is I think as a whole he's probably motivated, and I don't have any statistics, but I would imagine he's motivated a lot more men to take positive action in their life versus the men who are just using these things as like a cop-out excuse, because for even the negative comments I see a lot of positive comments that watching Tate, really motivated me to get out of a suicidal state, or he's got me in the gym, he's got me working on my money. So I think on average he's motivated more men to take positive action.
I'm friends, and I know a lot of people who know him intimately, been friends with him for 15 years, and they think he's really misunderstood. Do you think he's misunderstood?
Well, and I don't know him personally, but I know when I had Jay Waller here, for example, who's quite good friends with him now, he said the same thing. He said, look, I think he's put on a very aggressive personality to get to where he is now, but there's a softer side to him or a more humane side to him that he doesn't expose as much. And because I haven't seen him personally, I don't know, I can't say. Yeah.
Yeah. Luke said to me yesterday, he said, you know, the reason Andrew is so popular is because he says truths, he speaks truths, but in a way that people don't like. What do you think about that?
I would agree, because he'll start by saying something like, let's see if I can give an example. He'll start with a very, not violence, but a very intense statement that he knows 80% of people are going to disagree with. But before he said it, he knows where the conversation and the debate's going to go, and he has like a piece of truth that's backing that up that you can't really argue with, right? And I think that's his genius that's allowed him to have all, especially because I think his virality, a lot of it came from the short clips on TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels. So I think he's become a genius of that. I'm trying to think of one of the examples of these things because, I don't know, let's say, I don't want to have a woman pilot or something, he'll say, right? And then if you talk to him and you get down to the very end, he's like, no, well, if we're going through a storm, statistically, you know, men stay more calm in these type of situations, so that's why it would make sense. And you can't really argue with that at the end of the day. But when you first just say, if I walk to the plane, I don't have a woman pilot, there's a lot of people are going to get upset about that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So, like, I'm really enjoying being alive right now and seeing this happen in front of our very eyes. Because normally, to get such powerful and profound lessons, you have to look back retrospectively. But I feel like we're in the middle of this storm of Andrew Tate. Where does it end? Does he get assassinated? Does he come out the other side? Is he imprisoned? Is he exiled? Does he become the next president of the United States? We'll only know when we look back, but it's a fascinating case study.
Yeah, I think so I grew up in Boston mainly, and the New England Patriots is the American football team there, right? And Bill Belichick was the coach. So you had Bill Belichick, you had Tom Brady, and they had this dynasty, right, where they won 6 Super Bowls or 7 Super Bowls over 15 years. And Bill Belichick would always have this culture where he would go into the press conferences, he would say nothing or be really rude to the reporters, but the idea was he was like taking the heat of the external world so that the players could just stay focused and not feel the drama, and they could perform. And I feel like maybe there's a bit of a parallel here where Andrew Tate has taken a lot of the heat and pressure for saying things that are not okay to say in today's day and age, maybe some of these things about gender or money. But it's opened up a space now where it's okay to have healthy debates about these things. And that's another reason I think he's a net positive.
Do we have any healthy debate, though? Because it seems that there's just such... everything is left and right and wrong, good and bad.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Red and blue. Everything seems so polarized and divided. And then all that... This is where I think social media has a lot to answer for. It exacerbates that problem.
Well, this is the problem. We're talking about the clips. It only pushing...
It only rewards anything that's controversial, outrageous, extreme, polarizing, and triggering.
Yep. Yeah. No, I'd agree. I think that's the same algorithm changes that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Those are the clips that are going to get more engagement. They're going to get rewatched and shared more. That doesn't mean it's for a net positive for society, though.
Yeah.
Because really, a lot of these clips, just if you look in the comments, it's a war, right?
Yeah.
It's a war. So maybe he's taken the heat and allowed it to be a little bit more acceptable to debate these things.
But he's playing the game, though, isn't he?
Well, he's playing the algorithm game.
Yeah, if he's saying things that everyone thinks, but in an extreme way, if that's the truth, he's playing them. He's playing the game.
But I do think these are important discussions to have. Some of these, like the changes, the thing we talked about at the beginning about feminism and what a man is versus what a woman is, and they're not equal. They're not the same thing. He's opened up a little bit of a space to at least talk about these things. And I'm not saying it's all polite, happy discourse. Oh, it's nice. Do you believe that? Well, I believe this. A lot of it's very aggressive. But I do think that, I can only speak for my life, but I do think that in private, it does open up more like rational, logical discussions. But the problem is if we base anything off of like what we see in the comments, it's gonna be the vocal minority, right? It's gonna be the very loud few arguing and hating each other. I would hope that, like I've seen in my own life, that it's opened up these type of debates in private with people not absolutely hating each other. But I do see that I also have seen it, people being mad at each other in private. I have seen it cause conflict between people in private. Someone being okay by saying, no, I do think a woman should have a more traditional role in a marriage. And then I've seen that person have friends who then almost wanted to disown them.
My theory is that we will evolve and transcend these difficult times if we learn how to have discussion, debate, and discourse in a respectful way. Like, I don't have a need to hate you. You're a fellow human being.
Yeah.
The odds of us being on this planet at this tiny speck in history are about 1,000,000,000 to 1.
Yeah.
We're fighting the same war. We have the same problems.
Yeah.
Why are we enemies? Why are we not friends? Why can't we have discussion and discourse and debate and even argument and put our energy into the thing to better humanity,
But it feels like
but not hate you for it? What?
it seems like we're getting further away from that, though.
Yeah.
Because I remember
Yeah,
when
it
I
does.
was a kid in...
Oh, you're pro you.
But I remember when I was a kid maybe in the States in 2004 in school, let's say, and I might have messed up the year, but you had the presidential debates back then, and maybe it was Al Gore against George Bush. They were actually debating and discussing the issues they disagreed on, whether it was war or gay marriage. Now they don't even want to have debates anymore,
No.
because people aren't even open to changing. So it seems like we're getting further away from that world. Maybe it takes an overcorrection, though. I think that's the only positive that can come out of this, is that we notice that we've gone so far away to it, and we gravitate back to a place where it can be okay to just disagree on things and still be friends.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it with a lot of people. I've heard a lot of people say, if that person supports Trump, I can't be in the same room as them. Like, what?
Yeah.
Because that makes no sense to me, because of everything you just said.
Yeah.
We're humans at the end of the day. You can believe something I think is outrageous, and I can still sit down and have a beer with you and laugh my ass off, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, crazy times.
Yeah.
So people like Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, they're really popular right now.
Yeah.
Who do you prefer out of those two, and why?
I think it would depend on the subject being discussed. Because if it's something more scholarly, let's say, I probably prefer Jordan Peterson, because I know that he's able to pull, from this study that was in 1999 and that contradicts this study from 2008, and he communicates some they both communicate very complex ideas in very simple, easy to understand ways. They're maybe two of the top communicators alive today, right? I might choose Jordan Peterson only because I feel like Andrew Tate, he says a lot of interesting things that I agree with. He can bring a lot of these debates to mind. But I feel like maybe I understand him better, and the things that he discusses, I have more of knowledge on already at this moment in time. Whereas a lot of times Jordan Peterson's talking about some shit that I never even heard of before, man. And I feel like I really learned a lot more listening to Peterson, let's say.
Yeah. And why do you think people like that are so popular right now?
Well, because they're very good communicators, and
Right.
they're able to dive into these taboo topics, but back into them in a way that's very interesting to listen to. Yeah, especially with Jordan Peterson, because he's not so inflammatory with how he speaks. And again, I am a...
Well, he's become a bit more inflammatory, hasn't he, over the...
But has he become more inflammatory, or have people just become more sensitive to the things he said?
Yeah, but that's a good point. I don't know. I mean, I see he's much more emotional now than he used to be. And I think some of the more negative experiences he's had with being super popular have grated on him.
I will say, I saw him he recently did a very good podcast with RFK, who's a presidential candidate in the States. And it did seem at times like he was trying to bait RFK into hating on more leftist or woke people.
Yeah.
And RFK was, I think, I would applaud him for it, was not really buying into those things.
Yeah.
But maybe Peterson has it. Maybe now he does feel more a need to, I don't know, be a bit more inflammatory.
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to watch the evolution of Andrew.
Yeah.
Because, he was bullish and confident, let's call it,
Yeah.
in his early years. And I know some people who've gone out and seen him, as he's stuck on house arrest. And apparently Tristan, his brother, is just like laid back and whatever. And Andrew's really angry, apparently, really angry, which I can completely understand. And that'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. And
How long can this be dragged out? I mean, I don't understand.
Apparently 2 to 4 years.
Well, it seems like they'll drag it out as long as they can.
Well, yeah, they dragged out the
The
arrest as long as they could, and now the house arrest and the case. Apparently these cases...
So they've not charged him now. They've
just now, yeah.
Indicted him, yes?
Yeah, just now, a couple of charges. Yeah, but apparently he's really angry. He's like bringing in people to just fight every other day. Like Luke's 48 cage fighter, 48 fights, and he'd come back with loads of bruises because Tate's like, you got life too easy. Look at your Instagram.
Yeah.
Let's fight. 16 rounds. 1,600 shoulder presses. Pain.
Yeah. I can't relate though. I've never been thrown in a cell.
Exactly. Until you go through that, you can't judge. I just find it fascinating. Like, a lot of people in the world of business who are naive, they think that, the best way to get good is to make mistakes. And you can learn from your failure, but I think a better way is to learn from the mistakes of others.
Yes.
Stand on the shoulders of giants. Yeah. And, for me, watching what's happening to Andrew is like one of the most fascinating case studies.
Yeah.
It's like voyeurism, live voyeurism. Yeah. There's so much to learn from that. Because I have a theory as well. As someone who's been on social media a long time and got content, I think he probably started, let's call it on the spectrum or more of an extreme personality, probably.
Well, if you look at his earlier content, there's a lot of sound bites there. And you can say they can be taken out of context, but there's a lot of pretty intense sound bites.
Yeah.
That's what we saw a year ago, all these montages of the most intense things. Yeah.
So he starts like that, and then I think he just sees some of his more extreme stuff go viral. And when you see that, how does that not become an addiction?
That's basic human conditioning.
Positive
reinforcement.
Yeah, let's keep pushing this. Let's ride this wave.
We saw this with Logan Paul, right?
Yeah.
The same idea.
Yeah, and how do you know where the line is until you've crossed it?
Yep.
In anything, in training, in business, in communication, how do you know where the line is? And my wife was like, why didn't he just, get to a point and just stay there? I just don't think that's the nature of a man. I think the nature of a man is to push the envelope.
But if if you're in his shoes and you're getting all this positive reinforcement.
And you're making tens of millions of pounds.
Tens of millions. Yeah. And everyone, you're the most Googled man.
Yeah.
For 1 month, right? You have everyone wanting to talk to you. You have not just influencers or creators, but every major news network. Yeah. Maybe not all of them. Someone probably don't want to platform him, but
most of them do.
But it's tough when you have that much positive reinforcement. If I was in that position, or if you were in that position, we could say we wouldn't cross the line.
Yeah, but
you've been conditioned.
But you don't know where the line is until you only know where any line is until you've overstepped it.
But if that's your reality, that the more I do this, the more reaction I get, and maybe also the more men that I'm reaching and perhaps helping. Why am I not going to keep doing it? Yeah. I mean, it's basic human conditioning, right? Positive reinforcement is going to lead to more of the same action.
Yeah, I imagine he probably had some warnings. I've had a couple of people, I don't know if you have, but we've pushed bits, interviewed some controversial people, and we've got an a shadow ban, or we've had a 7-day ban. And it's like you push, and they're like, careful, boy.
Yeah.
We own you, motherfucker.
Yes.
Yes. And then you're like, I'll be good
yes.
for a bit.
Yeah.
And then you push, and they're like, careful, boy.
Yeah. No, I've experienced the same thing. And sometimes you'll experience it from your audience, maybe. Like, I don't like you.
Like you get a backlash, or
Yeah, when I interviewed Fresh and Fit, I've been on their show, and when I have on my show, they also have, you can say they speak with some, inflammatory rhetoric. I think they're good guys, but at the end of the day, I'm happy to talk to anyone.
Yeah.
But I've only had positive experiences with them. But I got a backlash from the audience for that. I can't believe you'd associate with these guys, platform these guys, this, and that.
Yeah, we've had that.
And then, but then you also see it from YouTube itself, where you see one video is demonetized, the next one's demonetized and age restricted. The next one you get some type of temporary ban. Like, well, all right, we got to play it safe. And it sucks, right? It sucks. Any type of censorship sucks. But unfortunately, they are the ultimate arbiter, and they're the ones who they're the ones dispersing our content.
Don't bite the hand that feeds you.
Yeah.
See, this is where the freedom of speech discussion, I think, becomes quite complex.
Yeah.
Because on the one hand, people say we have no freedom of speech.
Yes.
But I speak to a lot of people, and they're like, well, you shouldn't have, because YouTube spent hundreds of millions or billions setting up that platform. It's their platform. You shouldn't be able to go on their platform and do what you want. It's their platform. You should play by their rules.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I believe in free speech. I'm a big I like when you listen to Joe Rogan, how he says, look, the way to beat if someone's saying something that's wrong and bad, the way to beat that is not to censor that, but to have better speech that proves it wrong, or to have open discourse that shows, okay, clearly this is wrong because it can't stand on its own 2 feet. at the same time, I guess I can understand the logic behind if YouTube technically built the platform, even though I guess the content that was uploaded from all of us built the platform. Yeah, you can also argue that. I mean, it's not a black and white. I think it should be black and white. I think unless it's like.
But how is? I mean, life is very grey, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
where is the line
Yeah.
from what you can say and what you can't?
Well, I mean, I think the line should just be that if it's something that's illegal, right? If you're talking about killing someone or something, that should be not allowed, right? If it's illegal by the letter of the law, then maybe it's not allowed.
Yeah,
but if it's opinions, I don't think it.
Yeah,
should
but
be.
I can say F you,
It's fine. Yeah.
or I can say F you. You know, there's context, isn't there, in
Yeah.
everything?
Yeah. I think basically everything should go. And I think that the platforms will do better because of that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that ultimately they'll make more money, more advertising money because of it anyway, right? I don't think. Because we recently just saw this with the Biden administration, and because during, you know, Elon released the Twitter files, and in that he showed that, I don't think it was Jack Dorsey, but I think it was some of the middle management had accepted a lot of requests from the Biden administration, maybe also from some Republicans and Democrats. They would send them, hey, we don't like this tweet, can you remove this?
Yeah.
And they start removing the tweets. And then a Supreme Court judge, I believe last week, made a ruling that they're not allowed to do that anymore.
Yeah.
And immediately they're pushing back. And they always use fear, right? They're pushing
Yeah.
back. This is going to be very dangerous to society, that we're not allowed to stop the spread of misinformation.
Yeah, what's misinformation?
Well,
Yeah.
whenever you're using fear to justify
Yeah.
something, it's usually, I think, a pretty big red flag. Like that's 1984, right? Like
Yeah.
that's because they're always going to tell us it's for our own good. That's what we
Yeah.
saw with the right. But that doesn't. I don't like it. I think everything should go unless it's, again, if you're executing someone, obviously that's terrible. That shouldn't be on there. But
Yeah. Do you think people are open enough and talking enough about steroid use?
no, I think over the last 4 years, give or take, it's become more open. But before that, I think it was very taboo to even discuss it.
Why?
Keeping up an image. I also think that was the culture before, that people would use steroids and not talk about them. I think you can justify it that if I talk about it, then maybe a younger audience is going to be empowered to go down that route. I think a lot of ego plays into it as well, that no, I'm just naturally gifted, or I work harder than you. And I think that was always what was accepted, and because of that, there was no reason to be open and honest about it. But I think now that people have a better understanding of what's like achievable on a physical level naturally versus not naturally, and more people are open about it, you kind of just look like a schmuck if you're clearly lying about it. And there's a lot of people who are still.
But a lot of people are clearly lying about it, aren't they?
Oh yeah, it's less than before, but a lot are. But I think at least now. Look, if you've been training in the gym for 3 years and you've been following, you're sticking, you're tracking your diet, you're training, you kind of see what naturally changes happen in your body, and it's still good results. But you don't look like this,
Yeah, because surely it can't be a good. You're an influencer, you're a role model, you look good, and there's 17-year-olds wanting to fucking take steroids to shorten the process of how they look. I know because I know people who fucking give these steroids to people.
Yeah.
17 years. Surely that's fucking wrong.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're still in puberty, your hormones are still developing. You may like castrate yourself essentially, It's especially if it's not. Because there's a way to maybe more. Okay, so I'm on TRT. That's something I'm open about. I'm on testosterone replacement therapy.
Right, talk to me about this. I want to talk. I'm 44.
Yeah.
So I just had a blood test because I had my fight and I was really fatigued and ended up had anemia. My testosterone is still in the range.
Wait, which part of the range?
It's the lower part of the
Okay,
range.
Yeah, because it's a big range.
Yeah. And so I talked to my wife. I know someone who's just started taking TRT at 30 because he's been taking steroids for 10 years and he's got no testosterone.
Yes.
And he thinks it's going to be the answer to life. I know Joe Rogan's really open about he's on TRT.
Yes.
I'd love to ask you about this. So it's obvious I'm not on anything. It's absolutely obvious. But I am personally considering whether that's, a viable thing. Can you talk openly about the upsides and the downsides of TRT?
Yeah, so I started when I was 30, and in retrospect, wish I'd put it off longer. I'm very open about that.
Yeah.
Once you start it, though, the process of stopping it and then starting again is going to mess with your hormone levels. We lost one light there. Should I just continue?
Yeah. So, okay. So once you're on it, do you have to stay on it?
You don't have to, but if you go off it,
you'll have no testosterone.
Well, that's a risk, right?
Yeah.
You're, in some cases, your testes will start producing full capacity or close to full capacity based on what your capacity is of testosterone, but that's not guaranteed. That might not happen.
Yeah.
They might be shut off, so you might be stuck staying on it or feeling miserable.
Right.
The reasons I started it were I had started lifting 21 years old, and I was 9 years consistently in the gym, tracking my calories, working out. And I felt like I had reached kind of like my genetic potential. And it's a big part of my life. Part of it was curious. I wouldn't want to start doing steroids monitored by a doctor. So part of me was like, hey, this is a way to take a low dose of testosterone, which is an anabolic steroid, while being monitored by a doctor. I'll be curious to see what happens with my body. I'm going to document this fully for YouTube, so I do feel like it's giving a lot of value to a lot of people like yourself who are just like, I don't really understand it. I kind of want to see what happens. So the upsides are like definitely more energy. I'd say that's the most immediate upside. As you notice, maybe I don't have a great night of sleep, but I can still wake up and basically operate like at 100%. Whereas before, maybe I had a bad night of sleep and I was like, didn't feel like doing anything the next day, right? And that helps when you have YouTube and multiple businesses that I'm managing. So part of it was for that. You also, they talk about like newbie gains. When you first get into the gym, you haven't really lifted yet. The first 3 months, you put on a noticeable amount of muscle. I felt like I went through that process one more time when I started it. It's not like an ever escalating staircase though, because to get to
You peak.
Yeah, you peak. You start it. You kind of get like a new. I feel like my set point, my set weight, where if I'm not worrying too much about what I'm eating, I like increase 10 pounds and 10 good pounds, where there's muscle or water weight in the muscle. But in order to like keep that progression going, well, that's where you need to increase the dose, or add in some D-ball or some trenbolone.
This is what I worry about, the gateway drug effect.
Yeah, so I'm not that type of person. I don't know. I never really considered the other things. But that would be one downside, and I see a lot of guys that do go down that path, right?
Yeah.
Where like, well, I just want to get a little bit bigger than this now.
Yeah.
And that's part of maybe the vanity aspect of where like it becomes tied to how you look in the mirror, like while you're doing it or while you're not doing it. So the upside, mainly more energy, more sex drive, which for me wasn't a problem. Maybe it's become a bit of a problem afterwards because it's a bit too high, but
yeah.
and more muscle mass. Now, the downsides would be that at times you have to like at first kind of like there's a bit of an experimental phase where you have to find the dose that makes sense for you, the frequency of injections that make sense for you.
So you have to inject yourself.
Yes.
I'm out then.
Well, no, there's different ways. There's like
a
a cream now you can put on your scrotum that works pretty well. Apparently, you got to
put a cream on your balls.
Yes, but that's twice a day or something, I think. Whereas the injection is like twice a week, so it's a bit less.
Oh, I can fucking not. I've got the most horrendous.
There's other ways. They can
nails.
technically put like a chip inside of you that releases it, but they say it doesn't work well. It releases it super high levels.
Rub cream on your balls.
Yeah, that's one of the newer ways to do it.
Well, that's much easier. That's much.
No, you put it like underneath, and that absorbs it the best actually.
Right.
So there's options. But the downside is that at first is kind of figuring it out. And when I was in that phase, they started me out on a dose that was probably a bit higher than it should have been. And different people's bodies react differently. So someone who's like a competitive bodybuilder, they're probably someone who has like genetics that allow them to take higher doses and still maintain like a relative health to the point that, probably top bodybuilders you see, their health's probably not great, right?
Yeah.
They have to push the envelope. We're talking about Andrew Tate, but you see a top stage bodybuilder, they're doing the same. They're pushing the envelope to find out where the line is with their health too.
Yeah.
With myself, I couldn't take that high of a dose without my blood pressure getting high, starting to feel like chest tightness or trouble sleeping.
Yeah.
So now I'm in a range where I kind of experience the benefits but limit the downside. But there's also like the question you don't really know is like, is this going to have a negative impact on my long-term health? Like, is this going to put just a little bit more wear and tear in my heart over the next 20, 30, 40, 50 years?
How do you know until you've gone through that cycle?
Yeah, based on the data we have, there's nothing that confirms that. But there's nothing that confirms it doesn't happen either. So I think that if you're doing it with regular blood work and you're monitoring things like your blood pressure as well and you're doing it intelligently, you should mitigate the downsides, but there still might be something there.
And it's important, is it, to get diagnosed by a doctor, have it done properly via a doctor?
I would say so, because otherwise you're kind of...
Grey market, black market.
Yeah, where are you buying it from?
Yeah.
Also, are you doing consistent blood work to make sure these things are in order? When you do it through a doctor, at least it's a bit of like a system that you can...
But you can literally go to a doctor, can you, and say, I want TRT.
Well, they have to give you maybe some places. I'm sure some places you can. But normally they'd have to give you a blood test to like confirm that you're able to,
Yeah. Wow. So I listen to Joe Rogan a fair bit. I think he's good.
Yeah.
He talks openly about TRT,
Yes.
being on it.
Yeah.
And obviously he's a bit older than even myself. I think he's more for like 50. And he has been going on and on and on that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is on trend, is on hardcore steroids.
Yes.
What do you think?
Yeah, 100%.
Really?
Yeah, man. He's gotten older and older, and he seems like he's gotten bigger and bigger. But the thing is, there's a saying that, like, if you're natural, you can be big or you can be lean, but you can't be both at the same time. Meaning that you have to realize when you naturally diet down to get to lower levels of body fat, that drastically impacts your hormone levels. Your testosterone's lower. And that's why when you see a natural bodybuilder, yes, they have a very defined, abdominal section, but they look a bit empty. They don't look like they're that like big, right? Yeah, they have muscle mass on them, but their shoulder's not like perfectly round.
Yeah.
So when you see someone who's both lean and big, they're lean, they have a lot of muscle definition, but they have like perfectly shaped shoulders, their chest is full. That's usually the dead giveaway that like there's something else there supporting that.
So anyone who knows.
Yeah, I would say Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson 100%. He's huge.
Yeah.
He's gotten older and older. He's stayed huge and lean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I interviewed someone who knows his supplier, shall we say. So
Dwayne's supplier.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
But why doesn't he just come out and say, hey, I'm on steroids?
Well, I think
Maybe he's on TRT, maybe he's on trend, I don't know, but why doesn't he just come out and admit it? Because Joe Rogan seems to be goading him to come out and say it.
Well, I think I can't answer for him, but I'd say there's probably two main reasons for people like him. One is that, look, if you were from this era where you were doing the steroids before it was like more acceptable to be open about it, I think to now come out and say it is almost like admitting that, look, I was lying to everybody the last 20 years or however long it's been, right? And I think there's just some, mental like hoops you have to jump through to be able to like own up to that big of like a misconception. You probably feel like no one's going to trust you again. Someone like Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, a lot of people think he may try and get into politics afterwards. Like that might just end that dream of his. And the other option would be that, well, there's three. The other option would be he knows a lot of young kids idolize him, and I think he probably would be worried that a lot of young kids would then like think, oh, so I want to be like The Rock, so I need to probably take some steroids. Granted, you could argue it's even more dangerous not to be open about it, because now you have a lot of kids who think, oh, I'm going to be like The Rock.
Yeah.
Bro, there's no fucking chance you're going to be looking like that unless you take steroids. And the third reason, it could be an ego thing, right? That you just like, it supports your ego that you tell everyone that this is how you naturally are, and that makes you feel powerful or something.
I mean, do you think maybe if he came out and said it, he'd lose all his sponsors? Is that a risk?
That's another risk, yeah. Because what's the Under Armour's, I know, is a big one, but I'm sure he makes a lot of money from sponsors. That's another risk, yeah.
Yeah, man. Crazy times.
I wish people were just open about it. I think now influencers are more open about it than they were in the past. But yeah, there's a lot of mental factors there.
Yeah. We just recently, didn't we, had a case where quite a famous fitness influencer died.
Yes.
Yeah, what was his name?
Joe Stetics was his handle. Joe Linder. I think he was German. Joe Linder was his name.
And he was on steroids?
He was open about it.
Yeah.
He had said he had changed to TRT recently, but he had definitely had a long history of steroid use. He was very open about it.
As in, like, hardcore steroids?
Yeah, I believe, because I heard him talking with... No, he did a video opening up about it, and he talked about he was working at like a... I think he was working at like a nightclub, and some of the other bouncers there were like big guys on steroids, and they just like gave him, hey, just inject this 3 times a week without him even really knowing what it was. So I think he got started and really messed up his health at first, based on his own account. Yeah. And then little by little he, I don't know, got more intelligent with it. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know exactly what his protocol was, but yeah.
Yeah. And do we think that was steroid use that impacted his health?
I mean, it was a brain aneurysm, from what I understand, from what I've heard.
30 years old is so young. It's no age to die.
Yeah, no, it's very sad. I mean, that's basically my age, right? I guess I'm 33, but I think it was a brain aneurysm. I don't know. I've heard people say that could be purely genetic, that he lost a cousin of his also had a similar thing.
Right. But there is a lot of people in the bodybuilding world who die young, isn't there?
Yeah, well, again, if you're doing high doses of these things, usually it's going to be a lot of pressure on your heart. Your blood pressure can be very high. You can lead to things like blood clots because your red blood cell count goes up, so your blood thickness is increased as well. So, I mean, you're messing with your hormone levels, so it's not, there's some danger always there.
Yeah. Yeah, all for the purposes of vanity, eh? That's a lot to answer for.
Yeah. Some people might argue that if you're doing it as like a career,
Yeah.
that there's some additional incentive there.
But do you need to be a fucking
No, I mean-
professional bodybuilder to have a career?
No, but that's some
Unless you're in a professional bodybuilder.
Yeah, I mean, that's some people's dream, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never had a dream to be a bodybuilder, but there's a lot of people, I just know from the industry that I'm in, there's a lot of people they idolize bodybuilders. They want to
Right.
they want to get their pro card. They want to step on stage with Chris Bumstead, you know?
And is it a case of, well, if everyone else is doing it, I've got to do it? You know, the Lance Armstrong thing where everyone was fucking taking shit, so does he.
Yeah, there's no chance you're going to be a pro bodybuilder in 2023 without taking a lot of drugs. I think the drug usage levels have progressively increased.
I mean, is that worth it, though? A few years of that, is that worth it?
Not for me, no.
So, you know,
Yeah.
are we promoting the wrong kind of lifestyle?
Yeah, I mean, if you're someone who idolizes bodybuilders and just trying to get as big and hold as much muscle mass as possible, but it doesn't take a lot of steroid use to get there. It even takes a lot of steroid use just to maintain that. Because if you were to reduce those levels and your testosterone level
Fucking
drops,
lose all your size.
yeah, that you have to in order to maintain that size. And that's what The Rock, like we're talking about. He maintains size in every movie role. It's not like he just gets big for like one movie and then it goes away.
I mean, you know, I'm not in the space, but I've interviewed a few
Yeah.
world champion bodybuilders.
Yeah.
Grumpy motherfuckers.
Yeah.
I mean, if you know, like if you're taking, apparently aren't people on trend, don't they just go fucking insane? Does it not make you fucking angry and want to eat people's face?
Yeah, each drug profile has different like adverse effects and things. I'm not that familiar with the different ones. I think Trent is one that tends to lead to like roid rage. But even if you're in a higher
Roid rage.
yeah. But even if
There's
you're
even a phrase
there's
for
a
it.
phrase for it, roid rage. But even if when I was on a higher level of testosterone and that was nothing close to what these bodybuilders are on, but was higher than my body was naturally liking, and my chest was a little bit tighter, my blood pressure was a little bit
You're
higher.
like a caged animal.
I was a little bit
Triggerable.
Yeah, I was more triggerable. Yeah.
On edge.
A little bit more on edge. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but we've met a couple, you know, world champions. Now, not very nice.
Yeah.
Not very nice at all.
Yeah, I don't personally know any like who compete at that level. Yeah.
Yeah. What's a high value woman?
So this is becoming like a trending thing lately.
Of course.
Yeah, because you can say a high value man, and I can name those three things, and I think most people
Yeah.
would. I can't speak for everyone, but I think most people would agree more or less.
Yeah.
With these traits. I was discussing this with.
We should ask your. Is she your wife? You
She's
got
my
married
wife.
last year, didn't you?
Last year, yeah.
We should ask your wife what a high value woman.
I mean, we can bring her on if you want,
Ah!
but me and her discussed this actually
All right.
recently.
Could we do that in a minute?
I'll
Is that all right?
have to ask
All right,
her.
let's get your answer, and then let's get her
Okay, I'll
answer.
ask her. I don't know. You know, girls sometimes like makeup and stuff, but we'll see.
This will be fun.
So her answer,
Let's let her answer for herself. What's your answer for a high value woman?
I don't think it's black and white. I think with a man it's black and white, and I think with a woman it's hard to define. Because for me, what a high value woman would be, but when you're someone who has, let's say, built up your income to a point where you can actually, it's feasible to support someone else. Because for a lot of guys, let's be honest, it's going to help to have a second income in order to support their lifestyle and to potentially support kids. So for them, maybe a woman with a career could be a high value woman in their case. But I guess my point is, I don't know, it's not so easy to say this is a high value woman. I don't have a clear answer. For me, someone that would be a high value partner to have in my life would be someone who's really, looking to support not just myself, but our relationship and our children in ways that are not financial, because that wouldn't be something that I would need them to bring to the table. But I think that's the thing, is that a high value man, you can pretty much be like, oh yeah, it's X, Y, and Z. And high value woman, it's going to depend who you ask.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Harry, what do you think is a high value woman? I probably shouldn't ask Harry.
Someone who's loyal, trusts you, got your back.
Okay, so loyal, trustworthy,
Yeah, not gonna fuck you over.
not gonna fuck you over.
But somebody, yeah, and this is like the when you hear
Harry's clearly been fucked over loads of times.
no, but you see this discussed on social media, and you're like, okay, but if you said that for a guy, like the high value guy is just someone who's going to be like loyal and treat you well, not fuck you over. Like, that's kind of setting the bar pretty low
Yeah,
for a man.
that could be deemed as weak. I mean, I
Yeah.
know men who've lost their partners because they weren't strong enough.
Yeah,
And they were too supportive.
yeah. I think if you ask a lot of women now, just based on clips I've seen and my understanding, a lot of them are going to say the same things that they'd say for a man, right? That she's independent and strong and she has her own career and these things that you would typically
So
attribute
basically
to a
be a man. A high value woman is a man.
I think if you asked a lot of random women, that's what they would say. But I think also society has conditioned, I think the education systems have really conditioned women that's the right. I think women have also become a bit shamed if they just want to be like, no, I just want to be like a good wife and raised kids. I think there's a degree of shame from other women.
Yeah.
But that's really all you want. You don't want your own career. You don't want to be
feminist movement, backlash, oppression.
Yeah, and it's like, look,
too far.
Yeah, and my perspective would be, look, if you're a woman and there's some women, like I said at the beginning, who are going to have a little bit more masculine energy, and that's always been the case, right? There's always been women who want to prioritize their career over other parts of their life, and that's fine. But I don't think that should be have to be copy and pasted onto every woman in existence. That this is what you need to follow, and it's bad to be a traditional wife.
So basically, men are simple and women are complicated. That's what it sounds like.
Breaking news, right?
Yeah, breaking news. Yeah, news flash. Yeah, could we? I
can ask.
Could we ask your wife?
Yeah,
Would that be all right?
Yeah.
That'd be fun. The question is, what is a high value woman? Because obviously, everyone in the world is talking about what's a high value man.
Yeah.
But
wait, I gotta give you my mic.
Yeah, but like David said, well, you'd have to ask my wife. So that's what we're doing. And of course, he's got his answer.
I feel like that's a really hard thing to define, and I feel like it's a double standard because a lot of guys are always like, you know, everyone's asking what a high value man is, and it's really easy for people to be like, it's this, this, and this. For a girl, I feel like for different guys, it's different things, but I think it's somebody that supports their mission, somebody that is bringing value other than monetary, because I feel like a high value man already has the money, so he's not looking for someone else to bring that to the table. So it's somebody that can support him, maybe that can cook, that can clean, that more traditional value.
Right. And what's a high value man to you?
I think it's someone that's a really good leader, that can financially support both of us, that can make me feel secure and safe in a relationship. I think that's the biggest high value man.
And any tips for supporting a high value man and still maintaining your own sense of self-worth? Because just being a mum and just being a cook, I know, I've been married I've been with my wife for 17 years, and sometimes she's like, who am I? Yeah. Because I'm cooking, I'm cleaning, I'm wiping your ass, Rob, you know, I'm scraping you off the floor when you're depressed. Yeah. You know, because I used to drag her around the world when my son was world level golfer. I go to her every 6 months with like, right, I'm gonna have a boxing fight now with someone 20 kilos heavier than me. She's just got to go, yeah. So yeah, how do you find your own identity?
Well, I think it's also important to, you know, believe in the mission. Like, I'm sure she believes in what you're doing and she wants to support it, and she's your emotional support as well, and being your soundboard. I think that's super important, and finding value in that for me is like, I see the business that David has, you know, started running, and I want to be part of it. I want to see it grow. I want to see it be successful, and knowing that I have a part in that, and that like I played a role in that. I think that's important, but also finding what you love and being able to do it. So whether it is being a mom or whether it is supporting your husband, whatever that looks like.
So David and I were talking about this. There's a ton. I think that's the American phrase for it. A ton, which is more than a ton, which is more than a metric ton. I'm just trying to so there's a ton of 19 to 21-year-olds that DM me wanting to come on my podcast to give relationship advice. I'm like, me, really? You know, what are your thoughts on maintaining a good long-term relationship? You've just got married, and how do we do that?
I feel like this is a little cliche, but communication is key. And I think it's like the communication that it's not always what you want to hear, but you need to hear. And I think that's really important in a relationship, is I feel like so many guys and so many girls are so worried to rock the boat. They don't want to say anything that's going to upset anybody, or they're afraid of losing somebody. But you have to be able to be honest and set boundaries. And if something you don't like is your partner is doing, you need to be open about it. Because if not, you're just going to keep sweeping it under the rug, and then you're going to explode. And it's not going to be healthy. And I feel like that's really hard in today's age with everything going on.
Yeah. So is that equal support and challenge? Calling them out on their shit, but then supporting them when they need it, knowing when to do either.
Yes. And also knowing your own, like, I think that's a big thing, is like knowing like if you've had trauma, or knowing your own triggers and things like that, like being able to be like own your stuff and be like, okay, I need to work on this, because I think relationships are constantly working on it, and it's not always easy.
No, because you do find that, don't you? A lot of people in a new relationship, they're just dragging, they're hauling ass of their baggage of their last relationship. I once went out with this girl, probably the second girl that broke my heart, and she always used to say, oh, my ex used to do that, I hate that, and I'm like, well, go back with him then.
Such a red flag, yeah. If anyone brings up that, it's not a good thing.
Yeah, but how do you do that though? How do you calm those triggers down? Because sometimes they can be so strong.
Well, you need to be able to process everything that you went through. And if you had an issue with your ex, you need to be able to be like, okay, how can I move forward this? What am I looking for in a healthy new relationship? And a lot of times, like you said, people just bring their baggage into a new relationship and think that everything's going to be different. But if you never worked on your, like, nothing's going to change. You're just going to fall back into the same patterns.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people, I feel like they're looking for their future partner to save them, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get with someone, and they'll be the perfect one for me. Everything will be great. But
yes.
Yeah, if you don't work on yourself, how are you ever going to be able to have a great relationship?
Yeah, and I think when I met David, he was the first person I felt that didn't need me. He just wanted me, and that's so different.
That's deep. Yeah, someone who doesn't need you but wants you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can feel very insecure, can't you, if someone doesn't need you, or it can feel really great if someone really needs you.
Yeah, because then you're feeling like you're always like
you're important
in that relationship, but instead, like, I feel like he's healthy on his own, and he can be self-sufficient.
Yeah.
But then having me is just a want, and like that, like I can bring something to the table, and so like we can have this great relationship, but he's not going to fall apart if something happens. And I think that's like when you can get into a relationship and you're both self-sufficient, I think that's when it's like the healthiest relationship. But if you're going into it thinking you need to change somebody or you need somebody, then that's never gonna be good.
Yeah, that's powerful. I saw something that Lewis Howes said, and at first it triggered me. But he basically said, look, if I'm getting with someone, I'm going to tell you, if you do this and this, I'm walking. Mm-hmm. And I thought, fuck, that is brutal.
Yeah.
But I get it now. You know, what he was saying was, I'd love to be there for the ride with you, but, I am my own human, and these are my boundaries. Yep. And if you step over these boundaries, it's time to move on. Yeah, that's powerful shit.
Yeah, no, boundaries I think they're key. And I think a lot of times when people get into relationships and boundaries are crossed, they're always like, oh no, like I don't want to say anything, like I could lose this person, or I don't know, maybe it's not important, but you need to set that boundary because they're going to keep crossing boundaries that you're not going to be okay with.
Yeah, something that people say a lot, and to me it's a red flag. I just think you wait. But they say, we've been together 3 years and we've never had an argument. I'm like, you wait until you do.
Yeah.
It's gonna fly.
Yeah, no, I think arguments are healthy. I think that, to a certain extent, but I think you need to be able to talk about your differences and be able to communicate and have that spikes of emotion.
Yeah. So I've got a question for you.
Yes.
Who should pay for the first date?
100% a man.
What is going on?
So the reason,
who paid for your? Can you remember who paid for the first date?
David.
Okay, so 100% the man.
Because the man is the person that's setting up the date. He's leading the interaction forward.
Well, not necessarily. A woman might ask a man out.
Maybe, but not in today's day and age. That's my opinion. I don't think that women are. It can happen, and then if it is, then I guess you could maybe split, or the girl could pay. But in like a more like dating apps, or you're approaching a girl on the street, usually the guy is making the interaction and being like, hey, let me grab your number, setting up the date, and then he should be obligated to pay. Now, if you're going on multiple dates with a girl and she's never offering, she's never picking up her wallet, she's not doing anything, that to me is just really big red flags and not worth it. And like also there should be other ways that she does things. So like, maybe she's coming over to your house and she's like, hey, can I grab you a coffee? Or hey, I'm going to that sandwich shop. Do you want anything? Like also doing things to show that she cares and that she's thinking of you. So I think that also shows that it's not just about like, hey, I'm only expecting the guy to pay. Yeah.
So I'm not quite sure. I'm wondering if your answer is a man, or if it is who asks the person out on the date.
I think it's more the man, because I think that goes into more of those rules.
So even if the man didn't ask someone out on the date? Because I saw 50 Cent and he said, well, whoever asks out on the date pays the bill.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever thought of it that way. But I would still think I'd want the guy, because again, I think it's that leading forward. The guy is leading the interaction. He's leading you to the bedroom. He's leading you to, those are the things like I want a man to do. And then if he's not doing it, I feel then I have to wear the pants and I have to be more masculine, and it doesn't allow me to fall into that feminine role,
Right.
that feminine energy.
So I have a different theory.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to get f***ing hate for this. I think on the first date you should go Dutch.
Okay.
And here's why.
Is that splitting?
Yes.
Yeah, splitting. I have been played like some kind of f***ing mug a lot of times.
Okay.
You know, I'm fortunate enough to be pretty successful and worth a lot of money. And me, there's a lot of people out there that just, you know, they want what you've got.
Can I ask what kind of dates are you taking on?
Well,
like, so I know you're married now, but
Yeah,
let's just
yeah,
say,
yeah.
like, what would be your first
Well, actually,
date?
this is interesting because my first date we split, and when I offered to buy my wife a drink, she's like, no, I'll get it. And I said, why did you buy me a drink? And she's like, if you're a weirdo, I can f***ing leave without obligation.
For sure.
And I'm
For
like, well,
sure.
okay. So,
But would it be drinks for your first date, or would it have been dinner? Because I think that's a different story. Because I think a lot of times if it's drinks, it's an easy, you know, it's $10 a drink, so it's $20, and that's low commitment for both parties.
Yeah.
But if you're taking a girl out to dinner and you're dropping $150, $200, well then even you're doing that every week with different women. Like I could see how maybe you want to split.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think there's a lot more context than, you know, I think everything is context dependent. If you ask someone out and you take them to somewhere that's 400 and that they've not got the resources, you pay. But I don't know. I think it's a filter and a gold digger filter. So how should we pay for this? Because the amount of times the hands have been crossed, the legs have been crossed, there's a padlock on the purse. I'm like, this is in danger.
Agreed. And I think especially in today's age, especially with, you know, girls going on multiple dates and that kind of thing, I think then there's also other signs. Is the girl like, hey, thank you so much, I'll grab the next one? Like, is there a communication, or is she just like expecting it? And I feel like that's you kind of can get the vibe pretty easy. And especially like another thing too is if you ask out a girl and like, hey, let's go get drinks, and then she's like, actually, let's go to get dinner instead. Well, it's like, well, that's a huge red flag, because now she's looking.
She wants something really good, yeah. Because what you can end up doing is set a precedent, can't you? You can get the first 4 or 5 dinners out of obligation, and all of a sudden you're just their bitch.
Yeah, and she just assumes that you're just always going to pay.
Yeah. In fact, David, what do you think about who should get the first date?
I think the reality is, first of all, if you're like a guy and you're not able to like financially easily cover a first date, you should probably be working on that before like your dating's involved.
Right. So get in the position where you can pay and it's not an issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I think a lot of girls, like, regardless of what they say or not, if you ask them to split on the first date, they're gonna think of you like, this guy's a bitch.
Like that, I love. I love challenging people with the way they think.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you don't know me, and yeah, let's have a little test. Like I always say in business, if you're gonna fuck me really early. Don't fuck me 10 years down the line when we've been in business and we've got 100 million of assets, and then you fuck me because it's going to cost me 50 million pounds. If you're going to fuck me on the first date. If you're going to screw me over, because, you know, everyone wants a bit, don't they? There's a song in everyone wants to take a bite. You know, everyone wants a piece. So is that not like a nice little test? How should we pay? And just observe.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, if that's your style, I would be curious to see what the girl would say. I'm sure.
It probably depends on the girl, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like a girl could be like, yeah, let's split, or yeah, I get this round, you get the next one, you know, but I would be curious to see, because some reaction might be like appalled.
Yeah.
And then
to me, I'd be like, all right, that's safe. That's saved me
Yeah.
a £50 million divorce.
Yeah.
Sure, that's good. Yeah, because, you know, I think you want to be in the circles. I'm in circles with people who we argue over who pays the bill, as in, I want to pay.
Yeah.
You know, whereas when I went to uni with my friends, you're arguing over, oh, well, I only paid 16 quid and you had drinks. You should pay 22.
I only ate this little piece.
Yeah.
Like, you need to pay.
Yeah. You want to cut out all that shit. So come on then, what's the secret? Give us more secrets on like a long-term happy relationship. Communication, not bringing your own baggage, not trying to change people.
So I always bring it up, but my parents have the most wonderful marriage. They're so giddy about each other. Like, I just see them and I'm like, this is what I want. This is the epitome. And my dad always says, like, she's my best friend and I want to be with her constantly. Like
Yeah.
she's the only, like if a friend was like, hey, I want to go golfing or this, and my dad's super into golfing, he's like, if me and your mom have plans, like she's the like he just puts her above everything else, and the sense of like he wants to just be with her, and like his friends are great and he loves his friends, but I just love that. And I think it's just like you need to be able to be around your partner and be able to put up with them 24/7 and still be great. Because I know a lot of couples that are like, yeah, I'm gonna go away for 2 weeks and not see my wife, and like, you know, and have that kind of relationship. And for me, like we work together, we live together. I'm with David 24/7, and like I wake up in the morning and I'm super excited to see him again. Like it's like I'm just constantly happy to be around him.
He's like, correct answer. Is that at the back?
So I think that's, you know, just like enjoying their company.
Yeah. Is there a fairy tale relationship, or are we a bit deluded about chasing the fairy tale, and therefore, you know, we overlook the realities of sustaining a long-term relationship?
For sure. I think a lot of times people think it's not going to be work, and that like you're not going to have, like we've had shit and like we've had to get through it. And I think there's, you know, different hurdles that every couple needs to get through. And I think when things get tough, a lot of times people are like, I'm out, or like this is too much.
Do you think people give up on relationships too easily?
For sure.
It's too easy to get divorced.
Yeah. Well, now it is. It's just like, so we don't agree on that, I'm done, you know?
Yeah,
like,
and let's have 10 million on the way out.
Yeah. For sure. So I think, it's that the people not being able to deal with like the tough parts of the relationship too.
Yeah. One thing that changed for me with my wife, based on the other women that I'd been with before. So I would always get with a woman, and I'd want a woman to be how I wanted her to be. And you know, that was just my own insecurities manifesting. And then, you know, when I got with my wife, I realized, to me, what love is loving everything about them, including the things about, like my wife, she slurps her tea so f***ing loud. Like I just want to, I can't stand people chomping with their mouth open. You know, there's all these pet hates, and I'm like, I always used to change people to try and be this like, oh yeah, I've got to do whatever, you know, but is maybe that the secret to a long-term relationship, is loving people for who they are?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's things like David is always late. And
come on, tell us this the dirt on David.
I am
what?
so OCD. And
always late.
I have to be like 10 minutes early. I don't like being late. I don't like making people wait. I'm just like, if we have a time to meet, like that's it.
Yeah.
Him, 20, 30, 40 minutes late. Like we'll be like
40 minutes.
we'll be literally
She's got the seat now on your show, so
we'll be meeting at like 7 p.m. Let's say we have dinner plans at 7 p.m. It is 6:52 and he is in his boxers on the computer, still like writing an email. And I'm like, we are 20 minutes away from the restaurant. Like we have to leave. And so now I start giving him checks like, hey, we're an hour, you know, we're 20
time
minutes.
warnings. Yeah.
But that's the one thing that we
what
just
else?
can't.
Come on, what else?
We just butt heads on that. That's our biggest, I think.
There must be something else. Do you have any tics or isms?
No. He's not like super romantic, but I mean,
mate, if you need to get your notepad out here.
I mean, like that's the only. He just like, instead of like, I feel like some guys are like, oh, very like sweet and romantic. He's not so much with the words. Like I can tell he like loves me and he tells me he loves me, but like there's not going to be like anything super romantic. He's very like tells me what it is. And,
we need to get Harry in on this conversation, right? Because Harry's been in a relationship 10 years. They've got a good relationship.
Yeah.
But Harry's like, I'm taking you out for steak, aren't I? That's romance. And do you mind me saying this, by the way, before I say it? Okay, yeah. So, you know, Harry's girlfriend, maybe one day will be wife, you know, says to him, I'd like you to be a bit more romantic. Yeah, because like it's weird. I'm the opposite. I'm almost like the woman in my relationship. My wife's like the man. So you know, I say to her, you know, do you love me? And she's like, well, I married you, didn't I? Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, but you could.
Like a little bit more.
Yeah, you could sometimes show it.
Yeah.
But yeah, what's from a a woman's perspective? How can we be more romantic?
I think
without being a pussy? You know?
I think it's important to understand people's love languages. And
yes.
I think like my love languages are acts of service. So I love doing things that like making him breakfast tacos or like just doing things that when I'm at the store thinking of him, like acts of service.
Acts of service.
But mine are like the little notes or like flowers randomly or him making me coffee, and he's not really good at that. So like that's like to him he's like, but I don't want that because his love language is touch, physical touch.
Right.
So to him he's like, just give me a hug and like let's cuddle and I'm good, you know.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like, I want like those little cute notes, or I want flowers randomly, and to him it's like, I don't need those, but why would I, you know? So like that's one thing, is just like kind of figuring, and this is later in life, right? Like when you're with someone we've been together 7 years, so just understanding people's like love language and figure out like how can you, you know, support them through that.
Yeah. Have you asked Jade
your
what her love language is? No. See, I had this knowledge before I went into my relationship. And so, you know, I said to him, I was just chatting to her in the car. We're on like date number 6 or whatever, and we're in the car. And I said, so how do you know when you're loved? And she went, when someone makes sacrifices for me. And I was like, fuck. So if I take a day off work to put her first before myself, you know, that would melt her heart.
That's her love language.
But like, sometimes I stare at her with these loving eyes, and she's like, what the f is wrong with you? What are you looking at? Are you all right? What's going on?
That's like totally not, but that's your love language.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what you need in a relationship.
So, you know, if people are armed with this knowledge of understanding these differences, you know, because there's that book, isn't there? Men are from Mars, you know, women are from Venus.
Yes.
You know, we are almost like a completely different species.
Yes.
Trying to like somehow live together like a cat and a dog.
Yes. And figuring out just like how each other tick, and that's I think that's important.
Yeah. So as David's channel's blown up, because you know he's got what 1.4 million. By the way, have you ever been on his channel before?
Yes.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
She's done a lot of videos.
Yeah. So have you seen it change? Have you seen David change? Has he become a twat as he's got successful? How's the content evolved?
Yeah.
Has it gone to his head? You're going to wish I've got this seat now.
No, I mean, it's definitely evolved and changed. I mean, when we first started dating, he had just started YouTube. So he had, what, you have like 2,000 subs? Not even.
Yeah.
And so I really didn't understand what he was doing. I was just like, sure, like I'll help you. And then he started kind of blowing up through his approach videos, and I was the one filming them. So
yeah,
I
that's
like,
interesting.
Yeah.
Hey, David, go and chat up women. I'm cool with it.
And I was. I don't know. I was like super secure in the relationship, and I knew that it was for content and to help people. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll film these. And but yeah, no, through the years, like just seeing how they've evolved through his creativity, but also just like the era, like of like now we're in 2023, and now the, you know, big red pill and like all of like just the change and the wokeness and the feminism and all everything, and how like that this is like a new wave of YouTube. So it's just, I don't know, it's really interesting to see. And no, I don't think fame has gotten to his head. If anything, like him on camera and him off camera are very different. He's very introverted, he's very quiet, but on camera I think he puts on more of a, you know, because you can't just be like super quiet on camera and like have people watch, you know. So I think he's a little different on camera versus off camera. But no, I mean, I love what he does, and I think the message he sends everybody is amazing, and the following he has and how many people he's helped is just incredible.
Yeah. David, do you mind if we do the quick fire round with your wife? Is that all right?
I don't mind.
Yeah. Cool, let's do it. So we always do a quick fire round, David.
All right.
And, you know, they're just a bit of fun. Normally sort of 30-second answer or whatever. Would you rather have 1 million cash, it's right there, you take it, or 1 million engaged followers on social media? Which one would you rather have and why?
Cash.
Cash?
Yeah.
Why?
I'd invest it and do stuff with it. I mean, a million followers is cool, but to me, it's like I feel like there's a lot of pressure to like put up content and stuff like that. Versus, I'm sure he took the million.
Yeah,
followers.
David, what would you take?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
we would, because sure, yeah, exactly.
See,
surely.
I just, to me, is like I rather just invest it and not have to deal with the headaches. But he would probably take the.
Because
Women don't deal with the finance.
because a million engaged followers, you should be able to make way more than £1 million.
Yeah, but then you have to like do the work to like do the, you know, have the following and stuff. So
Yeah. So you just take the million, invest it.
Yeah, and just live my life.
All right, deal. Okay. Can money buy happiness?
No. To a certain extent. I think that, what do they say, after 500,000, there's no difference when someone
Well,
makes
I think the research is 70,000.
Yeah.
I think that's
No,
but,
I do, yeah.
80,000, yeah, seems
Then I think I would think a little bit more. I think when
Yeah.
you get to a point where money is like, you're not worried about finances necessarily, I think then yes, it can help with your happiness. But I think you can still, like we just were with this couple yesterday, and this is so sad, but they lost their baby.
Oh,
and
shit.
and they have more money than And so it's just like it can happen
Yeah.
to anybody. You can have loss, you can have all these things, and money can't buy
No.
that child back. You know what I mean? So
But can't money buy really great healthcare? Can't money buy investing into all this longevity? Can't money buy putting a big tip on a meal? Can't money buy, oh, I'm going to get on a plane today and I'm going to go and hang out with How to Beast?
For sure.
Can't money buy that?
for sure, and
Yeah.
I think there's a level of it. I mean, but then we've known people that have more money than God and that are struggling with depression and can't seem to get out of bed, and it's
Yeah.
just like, you know. So I think
Yeah, because it makes you more of who you already are.
Yeah. So I think there's pros and cons. If you use it right, yes, I think you
Yeah.
can definitely be happier. But
Yeah. This is a good one for you, actually. Should you mix business and pleasure, you know, family and business? I worked with my wife for 5 years, and we were on the edge of a divorce, and she fired me, and that saved our marriage.
I was gonna say, I think that it's hard because we do that together, and
Yeah.
it works really well. But I also know other people that it doesn't work for at
Yeah.
all, and it has ruined relationships. So I think you need to figure out what type of relationship you have, and if you're a relationship that can sustain that. Also, did you start out like that? Because I think we kind of started out like that, even
Yeah.
when I had my own career, and then I quit my job to work for him. But I still always kind of helped him, versus somebody that you just like start a business together after you've been married and then hope it works. I don't know.
Yeah.
To me, I can only speak for what I know, and yes, it works for us.
Sure. Great. What would you say is your biggest mistake?
Biggest mistake. Oof. I think I was very closed-minded before I met David, and I think I wish that I was more open-minded, and I feel like I self-corrected, and now I'm super open-minded. I'm open-minded, and then I can hear both sides of things. But before, I was just very closed-minded, and I think that's a lot of people these days. And I wish that people were open to having more conversations, even if you didn't agree with it.
Yeah. And what about your biggest regret?
Biggest regret. I don't know. It's hard because I feel like if you regret something, then you wouldn't be where you are today. So, you know, I could say I regret some things, but then I don't know if I would have met David, and then
Yeah.
so I don't think I really regret anything.
You see, everyone says that, and I get that, because, you know, if you're okay with the journey that you're on. But if we had our time again, surely there'd be something we wouldn't do, or...
I mean, it's so hard. Again, like part of me is like, well, should I have not gone to grad school in Boston and kind of, you know, left the family and tried to
Yeah, I
do
mean, I
different?
definitely regret going to university.
Yeah, like I mean,
I wasted a lot of years.
I mean, I have my master's and I don't really use it anymore. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I don't know if I regret that.
No. So you don't look back, you look forward.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. What's the most brutal life lesson you've ever had?
Brutal life lesson I've ever had. Oof, that's a hard one. I think it goes back to, like, I was living in a bubble before I met David. I lived in New Hampshire, and I was very, like, just surrounded by liberal people and everything that they believed. And then I moved to Texas, and that was the first time I heard people be like, "You're moving to Texas? Like, do you know what happens down there? Like, they are crazy." And I just remember being, "What are you talking about?" Like, but then, like, when I moved, my bubble burst, and I, like, realized there was just so much more to life and so many different sides and so many different things. And I think, yeah, I think that opening my eyes to that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's not a really good answer.
That's a good answer. It's your answer. What are you, A, most excited about for the future, and B, most scared about for the future?
I'm so excited to see where the businesses are going to go and to see them keep growing and how they're going to evolve. I love that. And then I think we're thinking about having kids soon. So, like, bringing in children into this world. I think that
a lot of people don't want to, do they?
Yeah. And I think it's just
Yeah.
like there's so many unknowns, and like that's scary.
Yeah. And this show's called Disruptors. So what does that word disruptive mean to you?
Not doing the status quo, like breaking past different barriers and, like, disrupting what people think is the norm. That's what it sounds like to me.
And let's do a shout out for David's show. Where should everyone go to follow David? How to Beast. Do you even know what How to Beast means? Because every time I talk to is like, what's How to Beast?
I don't.
What does How to Beast mean?
You say what you think of it.
I mean, the way I interpret it is a man that wants to be like a beast in life, and, like, so it's like
So how to grow hair?
Yeah, well,
or
or just like how to be like a beast in like whatever
how to be a
career.
Sigma male.
I thought of it on the toilet.
Okay,
yeah.
so the channel's called How to Beast
How
on
to Beast
YouTube
and Instagram.
and Instagram. And is the podcast the same name, or is it you've just
No,
launched the podcast?
How to Beast Talks.
How to Beast Talks.
We may change that, but
Yeah. All right, you on Threads now? You
Yeah.
jumping on Threads?
How to
I
Beast.
signed up. I got 2 posts.
Yeah,
We'll see what happens.
yeah.
Yeah.
And full name, so we can do a bit more research on How to Beast.
David de las Morenas.
Nice. Well, thanks for allowing us to come to your crib. Look
Thanks
at
for
the
having
view.
us. I know.
Yeah, we're going to go and get some lunch now
There's
and live the
amazing
dream.
spots.
Yeah, thank you. I hope we didn't take up too much of your time. Yeah. All right, it's a wrap, Harry. Let me know what you think in the comments. The bigger we can grow this show for you, the bigger and better guests we can get. So make sure you do like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. And remember this, if you don't risk anything, you risk everything.